I say this with a unblemished record of heterosexuality, but I have to say it. Too many chicks. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the June 25th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. So I prepped. I came on early because the NBA draft is going to start, and I know we're going to lose a lot of guys watching that, and rightly so. That's cool. This show can be watched canned. It could be really appreciated live, whatever works out for you guys. So as I was setting things up, I put on ESPN, and I don't know. I know people are going to think, what's wrong with you, Joe, when you say too many chicks? Just too many chicks, right? It's like that line in Amadeus where they said, what was wrong with the concert? And they said, well, it was too many notes, right? It's just too many, and it doesn't feel authentic. It just feels so forced, and much like everything ESPN does, and even the NFL to some extent. But I watched it and I just clicked it off. Maybe I'll zoom through it later. But if you were asking me where would I prefer to be, it would be to be in the RamCave, getting hassled by Steeler fan Rob, 49er fans, and talking to you guys about Ram content. So there we go. We're here. Happy you guys are here. I know I'm on early, so forgive me for not maybe putting out something earlier that I would go on early. But I just want to give you a chance to watch the show and the NBA draft show. So there you go. All right. Not a whole lot breaking. Just looking at some stuff. We're going to do is we're going to look at I'm going to look at one season, then all the standouts, maybe as we slowly step forward to relevancy and the third week of July when everyone comes back. But we're going to look at 1980 at the end of the show. What we're going to do is we're going to break down the NFL predictions again for or what we forecast, not final predictions, but what you can see happening around the NFL this season. I'm thinking maybe on Friday we might come back and talk about specific players and contracts and situations that are coming up. And then, we'll talk a little bit. The Rams made a transaction today. Also, looking at NFC West teams and how they fared since 2020 with their top 100 draft picks. And what I mean is drafting inside the top 100, and it's a clear indicator of where your team struggles. So my phone is blowing up because why not? Let's blow up my phone because I went live. It's like, you ever gone somewhere, you got a book you want to read, and you're with somebody? My brother does this to me all the time. And I've got my book, and I'm waiting to see if he wants to talk. He is looking at his phone. He's not saying anything. He's not doing anything. And then all of a sudden, when I open my book, he starts asking me questions. I don't know how this makes you feel, but it makes me think of violence, right? And I got people texting me now as if they don't know at 5 I'm on the air, or they're thinking they can slip in something on me in the meantime. Anyway, here we go. So, NFL Network, Greg Rosenthal, I saw a comment that he made. He said he preferred Kyren Williams to Christian McCaffrey because for the last 2 seasons, Williams has been out there consistently. And I thought that was really cool. It was really interesting. And Williams isn't flashy. McCaffrey's flashy, right? But when I read that, I didn't think about how much he liked Kyren Williams. I thought about the doubts about Christian McCaffrey. And then later on, I saw later this afternoon before I went on the air, you had even Colin Cowherd and Julian Edelman having a conversation about how lousy the 49ers have been in the draft, how they're getting old. And I thought it was a really interesting turn. And it made me think that maybe the narrative is starting to change a little bit, where folks are really finally starting to look at that 49er roster, and maybe they're not praising that schedule so much, because you've got 6 games against the NFC West, and none of those games are give-me's. Not even for the Rams are they give-me's. Rams have more talent to compete, but the Rams could win this division and go 4-2. I don't think the 49ers are going to go 4-2 in this division. And so looking at Christian McCaffrey, who just turned 29, and getting back into Rosenthal's thought process, besides his NFL workload, which we'll get into briefly here, his last 2 years at Stanford, he had 382 touches as a junior. That means rushing and receiving. In his last year, his senior year, he had 290. Add to that, in his second and third year in Carolina, he had 316 touches. And then in 2019, he had 403 touches. And it really looked like, oh, he's a star. Yeah. When I got the first round pick in my fantasy draft in both 2019 and 2020, the first name suggested to me was Christian McCaffrey. I took the bait both times in 2019 and in 2020 and 2021. 2017 and 2018. That was his those 2 good years. Then in 2019 and 2020, 2019, I'm sorry, I blew it. 2020 and 2021, he played a total of 10 games combined, and he killed my fantasy team. After those massive seasons in 2018 and 2019, where he had over 700 touches, the next 2 seasons in 2020 and 2021, he played 10 games. Now, in 2022 and 2023, that first season in Frisco, he split time with Carolina. He had 319 touches. And then in their Super Bowl run, he had 339 touches. And then what happened? He played 4 games last year, right? Now, McCaffrey's an 8-rock hit this year and next year. But then it balloons up to 24 rocks in 2027. He'll be 31 years old, at which point he's still a 9-rock cap hit, a dead cap hit for the 49ers, and they may be moving off him by then. And just another example of the 49ers just don't know where to put their money. They just don't. So it's right to have doubts about CMac, and I credit Greg Rosenthal for saying he preferred Kyren Williams to Christian McCaffrey. Now, prime time, in their prime, yeah, of course, McCaffrey's the more explosive and great back, but that prime is just about over, right? And I give credit to Coward and Edelman for having that conversation today. Speaking of Kyren Williams, I looked up his market value as they're in negotiations. His market value, according to Spot Track, is 3 years, 31 rocks, working out to about 10.3 rocks per season. Yeah, I'm good with that. Wouldn't you be good with that? That's not 12, 13, definitely not 14, but I'm good with him getting 10 rocks a season. I'm really good with that. I don't know how much of that 31 would be guaranteed. That's the number you really got to look at, but I'm okay with that. He's played 28 games the last 2 years. It would have been 30 if not for sitting out week 18 the last 2 seasons. The last 2 week 18 games the last 2 years have not meant anything to the Rams. So I think he's put to bed the talks about availability. And I know a lot of people still talk about him being fragile. That's not his issue. His issue is he can't take it to the house. Okay, we know that. And his issue is, the fumbling thing that came up, which as a Notre Dame guy, as a Ram guy, as a Ram, I think that's going to be put to bed as well this year. I think you're going to see that fumbling issue not be an issue. He'll probably get, 300 touches this year. He'll fumble once in week 3, week 4 on a second effort, and everyone will talk about it again that, oh, he's a fumbler, right? And just to keep the narrative alive. So, what do you think of Kyren Williams getting 10 rocks a year for 3 years? And I do I just love it when everyone comes around to our thinking, right? It's about the 49ers and them being old. The Rams put Quintez Cephas in the street, a wide receiver, former 5th-round pick of the Lions. He was on the Rams practice squad last year. And honestly, you could see it on the writing on the wall. He's 27. He's 27. Nakua's not 27. Whittington's not 27. Atwell's not 27. Kanata Munkfield's not 27. And Xavier Smith's not 27. I get to believe Cephas might have been the one asking for his walking papers because he's just too old. All those guys are young, and the only older one is Devontae Adams. But yeah, you know what that is. He's not gonna play in front of Devontae Adams. All right, hey, I got a crowd here when I got on early. Thanks, guys. I'm Joe Terosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years and still am. I could participate and contribute to Mid-Valley Sports, which I was one of the original founders. I left, and then they made it to the NFL. They're in the room with the Chargers, Dwayne Barker, Tim Peterson. They cover the Chargers. I get to do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. You can never say thank you enough to them. And if you're local or in California and you have an auto question issue in regards to a legal thing, I can't recommend anybody better than Kistler Law. I know it firsthand. After he became my sponsor, I had an incident come up, and so you might want to check those guys out. Also, I write books. My books are on Amazon. You check them out there. I've gone over it several times. So they got 3 football novels out there, 1 novel on the Rams playing the Packers in an NFC Championship game. Good book, good reviews. So please check that out. Every time you buy a book and go to Kistler Law and do all those things, you help me in my day job. Is I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene, and you can follow us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual, all across social media. Also, be sure to check us out on iHeart and Spotify for the podcast version of this show. Generally, we get that up the next day, but be sure to check it out. We finally, seems like we got, I don't want to say traction. Maybe we've got some kind of trace that we're alive there. We started this show, 3 years ago, hoping to just have it be a podcast, and actually doing it on YouTube was just a way of doing the recording, and YouTube kind of took off for us. But Spotify, man, we are like non-existent in the podcast world. If anyone's got any suggestions, let me know. So do appreciate your support. Thank you for everything, guys. Before I get to the NFC West and draft picks and everything that's taken place over the years, let me look at your questions. Let's see, USA Expat. We all hope that you are getting and feeling better. Well, thank you, sir. I am feeling better. I'm feeling stronger. I actually walked another mile today. So, yeah, I'm getting it back. I better be okay because next week, I don't know if I'm going to do 3 shows. I'll probably do 1. Because I am working camp next week, and I better be able to have a little more stamina. So thank you, Mr. USA Expat. Tim Burns. Rams odds for the NFC title are 3rd behind Detroit and Philly and 6th to win the Super Bowl. I think it's a rare, fair analysis. Honestly, okay, I guess. I think Detroit's got a couple of issues. I think Philly... And I could be absolutely wrong. I think Philly's going to take a step back. That's just me. Call me crazy. USA Expat. Trade Williams to the Niners for next year's first-round pick. Just kidding. The Rams have done enough of the 49ers bidding over the years, right? They've made enough trades to secure for them players like Bryant Young, Charles Haley, Steve Wallace, giving them basically putting Jack Reynolds in the street and letting him go there, trading Wendell Tyler there. Rams have done enough for the red and gold, right? In fact, there should be a mention of just the Rams in the 49ers Ring of Honor, right, for everything the Rams have done for them. Tim Burns, Steeler fan Rob said he will be late. He is getting a profile of Cooper Flagg tattooed on his what happens? What happens if Cooper Flagg...
I don't think he's tough enough, Holmes. I don't think he's good enough heart.
What if Cooper Flagg doesn't make it, right? What if... everything says he's going to. I'm not anti-Cooper Flagg. But remember how certain everybody was of Christian Laettner, right? And Flagg's got so much more game than Christian Laettner. Now, Laettner was the massive competitor, but Flagg has more gifts and stuff. But what if he doesn't work out, Because, man, everyone is just saying he is a home run, slam dunk. It's all working out. I think he's going to be fine as long as the Clippers don't draft him, right? Whoever the Clippers draft with these picks, not so good. So good luck to Cooper Flagg. I wouldn't get him tattoo on my butt, though. USA Expat. I'm still in the minority here with all the Williams praise. 10 rocks is too much. Okay. All right. No, I think that's fair. I was quoting the market value according to Spot Track, which does the contracts. Would 9 be too much down there in Central America, Mr. Expat? Let me know. Brian B. Brian, thank you for joining us. Great to have you again. I think the Rams should see how Blake and their rookie running back does before offering a long-term contract to Williams. I also think he's worth 8 to 10 rocks, maybe 1-year deal rather than 3-year deals. Yeah, I know they really like him, though. He is that Ram model. He fits that Ram mold. And it's hard to say, right? It's hard to say. He makes things difficult. Quentin Lake is going to make things difficult by the time this season is over, right? Rams don't give that second contract to safeties, but Quentin Lake, right? That's going to be a problem. And so I'm both ways. There's that savage side of me that is the 21st century guy that is like, yeah, good, you traded him, right? I was sorry to see Cooper Kupp go, but I completely understood it, right? You're sorry to see players move on, but it happens. When I'm younger, when I think of my 20th century self, is that no, I want the team to stay together. And when that Super Bowl 14 run happened, there was 8 to 10 players that I had seen play from 1973 through 79, and so I felt like I knew them and embraced them. I want Kyren Williams to stay, but just look what the Rams do. They invested in Blake Corum. They traded up to get Jarquez Hunter. They know the position. So I think that might be the market value for him. But when you're stone cold killer to Cooper Kupp, right? When you say, yeah, when you like Ernest Jones, when you got guys that you like, but you just say, love you, honey, but I just can't smile, to Robert Woods, you know that they're going to make the choice that's best for the club, no matter how painful we think it is. But great speculation. Let's see. Manny says hi. USA Expat says todo bien, Manuel. Okay, great. We're good there. Brian Byrne. Okay. Tim Burns. Like Rome's clones, all the regulars, USA Expat, Manny, Kistler, etc., should be called Joe's Apostles. Oh, man, you're killing me. You're killing me, Burns. You're killing me. How about Viewites? RamViewites. I don't know. There we go. I got to give away more gifts. USA Expat. How many NFL running backs could equal Williams' 1,200 yards with the amount of attempts he was given? It's the offensive line. It's the scheming. It's Matthew Stafford, right? This shows to me the greatness of Eric Dickerson when he's with the Rams. Of Vince Ferragamo, who is never the same that he was in his first iteration with the Rams. Jeff Kemp, right? In the 2,105-yard season in 84, that's Jeff Kemp. Dieter Brock, right? A very young Jim Everett. But right now you got Kyren Williams taking advantage of the fact that they have to account for that Ram receiving core and Matthew Stafford. So my feeling is if it was another NFL back, what if that was Derrick Henry back there, right? I think he'd be having 1,600 yards and a whole lot of home runs. But 1,200 yards, in 17 games, what does that mean anymore? We've talked about that. I think there are a lot of backs that can get that, but I think Kyren Williams is very good. Let's see. Steve Ramirez, never trade within the division unless it's an offer you can't refuse. Absolutely, right? You go to Kyren Williams, you tell him, either his blood or his brains are going to be on that contract, right? And then you sign him for 5 rocks. There you go. Let's see here. Tim Burns saying hi. Boom, boom, boom. Brian B. Lake earned a 3-year contract. He is an incredible defender who is an LA guy who needs to stay LA. Brian B., I'm absolutely with you. Pay Lake. I'm absolutely with you on that. 100%. Manny Correa making me feel good. I hope on the other boards there you're saying it. Emmanuel Ford times, Pastor Joe. Thank you very much. Yes, there we go. Manuel Vasquez. They should make an exception with Lake and keep him. Boy, I think there is 100% consensus here. Bill, I'm shocked the Rams didn't bring in someone to compete against Bennett. Yeah, me too. I'm a little bit shocked there, and I'm just like waiting for that camp arm. Who's the Dresser Wynn going to be, right? Who's the Luis Perez going to be this offseason? Is that – I don't think the Rams are stubborn, but that is, hey, we moved up a little bit in the 4th round in that 2023 draft to take him. We're going to see if we can get blood out of a rock, right? And they're going to see. And obviously, whatever problems Stetson Bennett had off the field, he is not a disruptor. He is not somebody that the Rams don't want to have around. If he was a pain in the neck, they tack McKinley his butt so quick and just get him out of the room, right? So yeah, Bennett's an interesting thing, really interesting. Manny Vasquez, draft running backs in back-to-back years, tells me they're getting ready for Williams to leave. They're not going to re-sign him. Man, the Rams have been drafting a running back almost every year. I think it is every year in the McSnead era. It's just now we're spending a little more capital on them, right? You start taking them in the 4th round and in the third round. That's a little more vested interest than, say, Jake Funk in the 6th or Zach Evans in the 6th and everything. So, I think that's just the MO. I know everyone's saying, I know Coward's saying it. The running back position is not dead. And they keep talking about that. I don't see a ring on King Henry's finger. But you know who has a ring? Who has 2 of them? Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round for the Chiefs. There you go, right? It's great if you've got one that's great. Now, Saquon Barkley, I was never a Saquon Barkley fan. I thought he was off the charts last year. He saved their bacon because they aren't going to win that title with Jalen Hurts. It was Saquon Barkley, and he was great. But how many Saquon Barkleys are there out there? I like what the Rams are doing. I like what the Chiefs have done. The Chiefs did not lose the Super Bowl last year because of the running backs. They lost because their offensive line at the edges, the tackle spots were a disaster. And that's the same thing that happened to them against the Buccaneers. The same thing, right? Let's see here. Bill, Cooper Flagg goes number 1. Oh, no, spoiler alert, right? I'm not giving you a hard time, Bill. Not giving you a hard time at all. Okay, let's press on here. San Francisco 49ers, top 100 picks since 2020. Since 2020, all under John Lynch and Shanahan, we call them Linehan, they've had 13 top 100 picks. I'm not counting this recent draft. That's 5 drafts. So that's almost 2, nearly 3 players in the top 100 in the 2020 draft. Now, they discovered Mike McDaniel was a minority all of a sudden, that no one knew he was a minority, and they got 2 third-round picks for him. So they've had a lot of top 100 picks. Who have they hit on? Well, you might not like the guy. They've hit on Brandon Ayuk. 1st round, 25th overall in 2020. Okay, cool. Great. I like Dominic Puny, the right guard, last year. Dominic Puny was 2024. Brandon Ayuk was 2020. Puny was taking 86th overall. I'm going to hold the jury as still being out on Ricky Pearsall. But if you look at the rest of that 49er draft, even Jake Moody, Danny Gray, all these guys, Jair Brown, you're not counting those guys yet, look what they've done. It's like, whoa, guys. It's like they've had miserable drafts. Colton McKivitz was a 5th rounder. He's been serviceable. Obviously, Brock Purdy has saved their bacon, but, we got the Trey Lance stuff. We got all those things. The 49ers have been miserable. That's why this is an older team. That's why this team is on the bubble this year in 2025. Okay, look at this. Cardinals. They've had 17 top 100 picks since 2020. Now, some of these come before Monty Osifort was the GM. I think Steve Keim gets credit for Trey McBride in 2022 in the 2nd round. But Monty Osifort gets credit for Paris Johnson. Garrett Williams had a great year last year. I'm going to take Michael Williams and say in the 3rd round, 94th overall, he was a hit. Marvin Harrison, 4th overall last year. Yes, we're going to be okay there. And I'm going to give them Max Melton for right now. He played a lot of games last year. I'm going to say he was not a miss. He was 43rd overall. That's 6 out of 17 they've hit on. And again, outside of 5 of those have come under Monty Ossenfort and under Jonathan Gannon, the head coach. That's why the Cardinals are trending, right? That's why the Cardinals are trending and are not going to be an easy out. Look at the 14 top 100 picks the Seattle Seahawks have had since 2020. Now, some of these guys aren't on the team anymore, but you got Darrell Taylor, edge, 48th overall in 2020, Charles Cross, Boya Mafe, Kenneth Walker, Abe Lucas, Devin Witherspoon, Abe Lucas was 2024, Kenneth Walker was 2024, and Boya Mafe and Charles. So those guys were all there. In 2022 was Boya Mafe, Charles Cross was 2022. Walker was 2024. Abe Lucas was, I think, 2023. You got Devin Witherspoon, JSN, Derek Hall, Zach Charbonnet, and I'm holding off on Byron Murphy. I screwed up a few of those dates there, but 14 top 100 picks since 2020, 14, and John Schneider has hit on 9 of them. 9 of them. That's why the Seahawks are a team to be reckoned with, right? And the Rams don't have any top 100 picks sometimes, right? I can go over the Rams top 100 picks real quick here. I didn't even put them in the list here. Let me get them in, and let's see what we got here. Boom. All right. Called up my list, my database. We're not counting this year. Okay, top 100 picks. Let's just look at 2024. Would you call Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Blake Corum, and Cam Kitchen all hits? Yeah, I think we would call them all hits. That's 4. That's already doubled what the 49ers have done in 5 years. Okay. In 2023, the Rams had 3 top 100 picks. Steve Avila, Byron Young, Kobe Turner. That's 7. That's 7. 7 for 7 the last 2 years. They did not have a top 100 pick, 100 pick in 2022. In 2021, they had 1, Tutu Atwell. Now, the jury might be out for you on Tutu Atwell, but the Rams gave him a second contract worth $10 million guaranteed. The Rams are 8 for 8 in the top 100. Now, in 2020, the Rams had 3 top 100 picks. Cam Akers, Van Jefferson, and Terrell Lewis. Terrell Lewis, bust, okay? Cam Akers started in the Super Bowl. Van Jefferson started in the Super Bowl. They contributed in that Super Bowl run. I would honestly say I think the Rams since 2020 are probably 10 out of 11. 10 out of 11 in the top 100. And that's why the Rams are in conversations this year, right? That's why the Rams are being considered, where you got to be a little sus on the 49ers. So let's see what's coming in from you guys. Let's see. Tim Burns. Who is more valuable at running back over Kyren? Saquon, King Henry, Jahmyr Gibbs are about the only running backs, in my opinion. So I say we pay the guy. No matter who replaces him, it'll be a drop at running back. See, I like the idea that of the committee room. I do. I like the idea. If the Rams could get him for 10 rocks or just a little bit less, I like the idea of by committee, right? If he has another great year and that contract's in the 9 to 10 area, then you can deal him because you'd have him locked up for 2 years for the next team, and they might give you something for him as Corum and Jarquez Hunter develop. It's a small group, right? And Jahmyr Gibbs has been fortunate enough to share time with Montgomery, right? And that offense up to this point has been so diverse. He hasn't really had to carry a massive load, but he is a home run hitter. I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't trade for a lot. Taylor from the Colts. I wouldn't trade for Cook from the Bills. I like what the Rams got. You know, it's marvelous, right? It's marvelous. It's really great. Tommy Huxley, but doo-doo Darnold gonna doo-doo Darnold. Yeah, I think that hurts and holds back the Seahawks, right? I think there's nothing about Sam Darnold that the Rams don't know. There's nothing scary about Sam Darnold. There's nothing scary about that. We know who he is. And yeah, he's got JSN, and they've made some additions there. They've had some great drafts. They got a pretty good defense, but the Rams defense isn't going against the Seahawks defense. It's going up against Sam Darnold. And I'll tell you who Sam Darnold doesn't have. he doesn't have Justin Jefferson out there to throw the ball to. And he's got an offensive line that is still a bit sus compared to what the Vikings were, and the Rams destroyed the Vikings' offensive line. The Seahawks are still hoping that Abe Lucas can get back to his rookie form. We saw Jared Verse pancake Charles Cross. They're hoping Gray Zabel fits in at left guard. Their center and right guards are, yeah, right? So, yeah, and we've seen the best of Darnold. So that's not scary. And so I'm right there with you. McVay owns the Scumhawks, Tommy Huxley. Yeah, as long as they're not throwing Puka Nacua out of a game, 5 minutes into it, right? That was a bit cheap. Let's see, USA expat. Without DeBartolo, no player wants to play in Frisco any longer. Do you think so? Is that true? I just know right now, I don't know if that's a destination. I just don't. And that's not a shot at Brock Purdy. That's just a shot at where they spend their money. They should have moved off Kittle. They should have traded Kittle to a contender somewhere, picked up some draft capital. They should have moved off Fred Warner. You shouldn't give your inside linebacker close to 20 rocks. He's really great, but you don't give him that much money. And they never should have extended McCaffrey. But I love it as a Ram fan. I love it. I think it's great. And they're kind of in a quandary there with Brock Purdy. But, what do you want to have happen? And, they got to figure something out. I mean, that offensive line's a disaster. I love it, though. I love it. So there you go. Tim Burns is praising Huxley. Tim Burns, what do you see the Vikings doing without Darnold? To me, the Vikings are the team most ripe for a fall in the NFC North. And I probably got to do a deeper dive on them, and maybe we will in a second here. But what's the big move that they made this offseason? Trying to think right now, top of my head, right? Yeah, they picked up a couple of guys here and there. Is there a big move? I know they got good receivers, and I don't think it's all going to be JJ, but I don't know if they've improved enough. We saw them. There was nothing about the Vikings that scared me, or if I had to go to Bloomington in -3-degree weather, then I'd be afraid of the Vikings. But we don't. They decided to build a stadium so they could host Super Bowls instead of go to Super Bowls many years ago, and that's exactly what they've done. They host Super Bowls, and they haven't been to a Super Bowl since January of '77, where the Raiders kicked their butt. And so the Vikings don't scare me. They just don't. And I hope J.J. McCarthy plays well. I think people are down on him a little too much, but we'll see. Manuel Vasquez. Ayuk benefited from Kittle and Debo double team, so his numbers are about to go down. Yeah. I like Juwan Jennings. I do. I think that guy's a gamer. Is he a number one? Probably not, but that's a great point. Plus, is he, he had a pretty serious knee injury. Is Ayuk going to be ready to go by October? That's something else. And then by the time he gets there, what's that offensive line position going to be? There you go. Huxley talking to Burns, Tim Dog. There we go. Samuel Ainsley. Sam, thanks for clicking on. Howdy, Joe. Offensive line worries me. Humphreys is on the downside of his career. Shelton is a turnstile at center. That's where we have to go, and McSnead we trust, as painful as it is, and how we run the risk of sounding fanboy. We're going to bank on it. This Alaric Jackson issue was spotted first week of June, not week 9 like it was in the 2022 season. So hopefully, prayerfully, one, he's healthy, but then maybe he's ready to go. And he's not going to take any snaps in a preseason game. So hopefully he's ready to go by, September 7th, September 8th. And that's fine. If maybe he comes back 2 weeks into the season because he needs to work in the chair, I'm fine with DJ Humphreys starting 2 or 3 games. That's about it, right? We don't want him starting 17 games. That's where you start to look at, oh, man, maybe I take Rainman. Maybe I make a deal for the Colts if they're struggling for Rainman or some other left tackle. If Colton Miller hasn't signed, maybe I need to make a move there. But until then, I have no problem with Humphreys and Quisenberry filling in a couple of games here and there. McVay's hot for McClendon. He likes Warren McClendon. I feel pretty good about the line. I wouldn't feel as good without Humphreys and Quisenberry. And then Shelton, you guys saw me, split a vein in my forehead when you heard that not only Shelton was resigned, which I was okay for a depth piece, but when they said they're bringing Shelton back to start, and it really looks like he's going to start, I was frustrated because I think we've seen the best of Coleman Shelton, And I don't think there was that much discrepancy other than experience with Bo Limmer. And I want to see Limmer grow because I don't think Shelton can go any higher. And the Bears, they couldn't wait to get rid of him, right? It's like, yeah, go out the door, right? But Shelton is one of the Rams boys. He's one of McVay's boys. I think Shelton is kind of graduating into that John Johnson, Troy Reader comfort food where he just makes a certain room feel comfortable because of his experience and his knowledge. Shelton's self-made, right? He bounced around everywhere, became a starter, got a contract with the Bears. I give him full credit, but I was more anxious in Bo Limmer than Shelton. But the Rams really like him, and so we're in that dangerous zone of fanboy that I keep talking about is in Nick Snead we trust. So I'm kind of there with you a little bit. Tommy Huxley, you think the Rams run D improves? They were dreadful last season. The Rams feel like their run D's been dreadful for years. That's what Poona Ford is here for, an upgrade from Bobby Brown. I'm hoping. I'm really, really hoping it's going to be better. And that's where those linebackers come in. And I'm hoping Nate Landman is the upgrade from Christian Roseboom. People could talk about that Rams secondary, but that Rams secondary is good enough to give time for those home run hitters on the edge to get to the quarterback. So teams are going to run. I think teams are going to try to run. The Texans are going to try to run with Chubb and Mixon there. I don't like the Texans offensive line, but that's what they're going to do probably to us in week 1. Let's see. Tommy Huxley, Poona Ford. Yeah, I'm excited about Poona Ford. Was not on my radar, but I am excited about Poona Ford now that the Rams got him. Tommy Huxley, Rams O-line has great players. They are underrated. I agree. Tommy Huxley, who is signing Ramsey? I think Ramsey's going to pick and choose. I think he wants to come to the Rams. Has he been put in the street yet? Did that happen? Did I miss that today? Keep an eye on that. Tim Burns, dynasties tend to be relevant over time. Frisco, Dallas, Pitt, Green Bay. Why did Minnesota and Buffalo have such great runs, long runs, and disappear for the most part? Well, Buffalo's tough, right? Buffalo's a tough place. They don't go to 4 Super Bowls if they're not at, was it Rich Stadium at the time? They don't go to 4 Super Bowls if it's not outdoors and going into that environment, right? I give them full credit for the new stadium where they're going to protect their fans but keep the players exposed to the elements. I think that's a great idea. And then, it just comes down to getting the right coach, the right quarterback. They missed on Todd Collins. They missed on, was it J.P. Lossman? They missed on, was it E.J. Manuel? They missed on so many guys, and they couldn't get it together. Then they got it together, and of course, a generational type quarterback in Josh Allen. So, and then you got teams like Pittsburgh and Dallas who are still living in the 20th century, right? Green Bay, they lost their great owner. And I think John Lynch is a good GM. I think Shanahan's a good coach. But they're not great. They're not McSnead. Not that, So, anyway, I hope that answers there. Manuel Vasquez, I didn't care for Shelton signing either, but at least we know that Limmer is in the shadows waiting for it with a chip on his shoulder. Yeah. And another guy to keep an eye on there, Manny, as we talked about, is Dylan McMahon. I think the Rams like him. He was actually drafted by the Eagles ahead, 10 picks ahead of Limmer or so, 10, 12 picks ahead of Limmer. And so he might be someone the Rams really like. So, hey, I'm all for depth, right? We all survived the 2022 offensive line chainsaw massacre. We do not want to see part 2. Let's see. USA Expert Ford's pick 6s will make up for any potential OT drop-off. Okay. Yeah, there you go. And I get to talk a bunch of trash when Forbes gets a pick 6, right? You're allowing me that grace, right? Tommy Huxley, good question, Tim. I hope I answered it now that you think it's a good question. Let me know, guys. Tommy Huxley, we will take Ramsey. He can play anywhere, safety, slot, or outside. He is a very smart player, too. I'm all with you on that. I don't want to pay him the bucks and expect him to be the cover guy, right? I just don't want any expectation that he is the shutdown corner. He's not that guy. He's high IQ football player that you can put anywhere. All right, around the NFL and other places. Let's start with other places. It is the NBA draft tonight. Kevin Durant has been traded. Kristaps Porzingis has been traded. Drew Holiday has been traded. You wonder, were those things kind of come about without the injury to Jason Tatum? That's something to think about. Jordan Poole, the former Golden State guy, got punched by Draymond Green, traded to the Pelicans from Washington. And then, of course, the big one, DeWanna Bonner from the WNBA was waived by the Indiana Fever after bailing the last 5 weeks. Did anyone see? I do. I record the WNBA games and I watch the highlights whenever they play because I like watching Caitlin Clark. DeWanna Bonner is the third leading scorer in WNBA history. I hope she's a lot better back then than she is now because that chick is washed. And she's the exact reason. If she's the third leading scorer in WNBA history, it's why the league has always sucked, right? Now, I say that because I'd be happy to talk about Major League Baseball, but what I feared about the Mets is presently coming to pass. My Mets don't have enough pitching. I never thought they'd last till mid-June, and they did. And now it all seems to be falling apart faster than a 2022 election narrative. Anyway, I said that. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Okay, NFL stuff. Let's get to that. What I'll do is I'll break down a division just with some quick thoughts. I'll look for questions, anything you guys throw out there or comments, and then I'll move on to the next one. AFC East. I'll say it right now. Patriots are a playoff team. Patriots are a playoff team, not because of just the moves they've made, but bringing in Vrabel and Drake May being in his second year. Patriots are a playoff team, whether or not Stephon Diggs is there or not. Jets, by the end of the season, it's going to be rocky, but by the end of the season, I think Jets fans will be happy with the direction. Now, that always happens to the Jets, right? They have a high note here or there for a little short window, and then everything falls apart. But Aaron Glenn is going to get some clicks out of Justin Fields. They sign him for a 2-year deal. He's the guy that holds the fort down, steadies the ship, and they build from there. He's reunited with Wilson from Ohio State, and we'll see how it goes. Dolphins, Mike McDaniel's on the hot seat, right? The team is getting old. They missed their shot, and they're paying Tua too much. I don't like what I'm seeing with the Dolphins. Bills, of course. I hear Elvis singing "It's Now or Never, My Love Won't Wait." Their fans are always going to love them, but man, they have got to get past. They got to get to a Super Bowl and lose it, at least bare minimum, right? I hear Elvis singing "It's Now or Never." They have to get over the hump. Let's see what you guys got here. Steve Ramirez, big fan of Paige Bueckers. She's good. I think she's really good. I've seen more of Kelsey Plum than I've ever have. Plum is pretty tough, man. She's pretty nasty. So not too bad there. Okay, AFC North. I'll get back to the comments and questions there in a second. AFC North. Ravens, lock it down. Division champs, playoff choke. They'll say Lamar doesn't have enough help. It's the same script. We see it year after year after year after year. Steelers, I've moved them up. If things fall into place, they stay healthy, playoffs, like always, and that's it. They don't have enough to go further. I was high on the Bengals, but the uncertainty about their defense means they're going to have to win too many shootouts. Shamar Stewart, I think he's within his rights to argue about language in the contract, but something about that dude, just not my kind of guy, right? So I think the Bengals are in trouble. And the Browns are in trouble. But here's me, the spiteful side of me, hoping Shedeur Sanders becomes a star and the Browns ball out. Then the Browns beat the Steelers twice and the Browns make the playoffs just so I can hassle Steeler fan Rob in Missouri. Don't tell him I said that. He's watching the draft. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Tim Burns, I think the WNBA players, its players, coaches, rest have beat Clark physically and emotionally. I think she is breaking and should go to Europe where they worship her. I would agree. And then let them sink back to irrelevance, right? And they'll try again. It's like too many notes. It's like I opened the show with, right? Where I compared ESPN having too many chicks on the dais there talking. And I know that sounds very sexist, very Steeler fan Rob-like, and I'm good with it. But it's like too many chicks, too many notes, and they're going to tell us that it's all good, but we know it's not. And she can go to Europe, which I wouldn't blame her. And WNBA will be irrelevant again, and they'll be like Baghdad Bob trying to tell us that the WNBA is relevant. Paige Buckers is good, but she ain't Caitlin. I haven't seen much like Caitlin. To me, it's Caitlin and Cheryl Miller. That's it. That's all I've ever seen that really got me thinking. Let's see here. AFC South, Texans. I don't like their offensive line. I hear they plan to run the ball more. I think the AFC South is a bit open. I think the Jaguars, they can compete with Houston. I think you're going to be surprised a little bit with the Jaguars this year. And of course, they got some playmakers in Thomas and Travis Hunter. So that's going to be interesting. The Colts, though, the Colts are a team, believe it or not, that could win this division if they can get a great season out of Daniel Jones. If Shane Steichen can work his magic or something and really elevate Daniel Jones, who has all the tools, it's just, getting something straight between the ears and all that stuff. The Colts could win this division. They could surprise a lot of people. Titans are going to be better. I'm firm believer there are no give-me's in the AFC South. As for right now, you got to kind of settle with Houston, and we'll get back to them in a little bit. Let's see here. Willie Bowen, I said that. Xavier Smith should have some reception yardage and TDs this season. I don't know if he's going to get the space there, Willie. I like him. I want him incorporated more into the offense. In fact, that's why I thought Tutu Atwell was gone. I thought Xavier was going to graduate into that role. I like Xavier Smith. I really do. And unless there's an attitude thing in there or they just wanted some depth, that's why they brought in Britton Covey. I want to see him get the ball more. It's going to be really tough, though, with those four guys in front of him, right? And Kanata Mumfield being the other guy next to him in the 5th and 6th spot, who is a receiver by trade, not just a receiver returner. But in front of Atwell, Whittington, Nakua, and Adams, it's going to be tough for Smith to get some touches. I do believe that. Steve Ramirez, Ravens are like what Matt Damon says in Ford versus Ferrari, just like last year and the year before that and the year before that. I haven't seen that, but I totally know what you mean by that. Tim Burns, Hannah Storm on that panel is sad. Is that maybe I was watching the pregame. Maybe I was watching the pregame because I didn't see Hannah Storm. Hannah Storm was one of the few that I respected because I thought she gave some good opinions back in the day. Anyway, I'm a Jeannie Gogo Zelasco fan from the old 96-90 days. Let's see. Willie Bowen, Kyren Williams must not fumble in crucial plays. He's not. He's not going to fumble. I'm laying the law down. Boom. He's not. He's not going to fumble. Willie Bowen says hi to Steve. Tim Burns, how long does a franchise wait for Burrows or Lawrence to deliver? Well, I think the jury is in on Joe Burrow, right? I think everyone thinks Joe Burrow is great. I think he's really good. I'll still take Matthew Stafford. And then Trevor Lawrence, third head coach. Is it third OC? A lot of disarray there. So yeah, I'm really hoping it works out for Trevor Lawrence. I want to see something great happen for Trevor Lawrence. I think they're slowly getting better, and we'll see. They paid him too soon, but I think they were kind of like led when they had that comeback against the Chargers, and people just didn't take into account that was the Chargers, right? And it was Brandon Staley, right? So they said, yeah, we got our guy, and maybe they do. Michael Negretti with the number 1 pick. RamView selects Pastor Joe T. Thank you so much, Michael Negretti. Manny Vasquez, hearing you describe the Jet season reminds me how much I do not miss the days when us Rams fans hope for 5 or 6 wins. McVay is a blessing. Do you remember that? Do you remember it was like, I think I wrote a column once talking about the please God thing that fans go through. And it's a little tongue-in-cheek. We know. Okay, I'll put it this way. Now, I'm blurring the lanes here.
Stay in your lane, bro.
I'm going to stay in my lane. This is a sports show, not a pastor show. But I always get a little hot when the KBM or some uptight commentator when gets upset because Frank Reich or he was thinking of him back in the day, or somebody else says, I just want to thank the Lord for this opportunity to play. And the very questionable faith, I'm not saying they don't have any faith, believing reporter will say, as if God doesn't have better things to do. And the truth of the matter is, our God can follow sports and still follow the Middle East and not have any issues happen. All right. And so I used to write this column, and I got heat for it just for that very same reason. It's like, oh, Joe doesn't have more important things to do. And I used to say as a Ram fan, I said, oh man, Lord, just let us be 500, or just let us be respectable. Just please, just, let us get to 9 wins. I'm not asking for the playoffs. Let us just get to 9 wins. And then it was, oh Lord, just the playoffs, or just one playoff win. I don't need to win the Super Bowl. You keep making those bargains with God, and the creator of the universe hears you and all that stuff, and he's going to do his own thing, but you're not offending the creator of the universe because you want your team to win. I'm not going to say he's going to let your team win, but all those deals, it's like, please, I just don't want to be 7-9 anymore, right? Which was the high point of the Jeff Fisher era. And yeah, I remember that run from 2005 through 2016. I had Sunday ticket. I watched every single one of those games. Oh, yeah, I never want to go back to that. Yes, McVay has been an absolute blessing. Let's see, Michael Negretti. Pastor Joe, are you going to watch the rest of the WNBA draft, the NBA draft? Yeah, I'm going to speed through it later. I'm not upset of you guys telling me Cooper Flagg or someone went. I'd love it if I turned it on and Adam Silver or Gollum got up there and said, we'd like to announce a trade. The Los Angeles Lakers have sent, LeBron James and Bronny James to the Cleveland Cavaliers and draft picks to the Detroit Pistons, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are sending Evan Mobley to the Lakers, right? Wouldn't that be awesome to have that happen? Yeah, I think that would be great. Steve Ramirez, no more of the 7-9 ball show. Absolutely. Michael Negretti, playoffs, don't talk about playoffs. Playoffs. There we go. All right, let me get back to this. I digress there with my not staying in my lane. So here we go. AFC West, Chiefs. I understand they've got issues along that offensive line. I understand there are other things there that are going on, but I love their defense, right? They kept Nick Bolton. They got Chris Jones. They got that Russian guy from Purdue. I keep for Karavitas. No, whatever, that guy, the Greek guy, whatever his name is. I always forget his name. So the Chiefs, I'm always going to go with the Chiefs. I love Harbaugh. I really do. I want the Chargers to do well. I want Justin Herbert to get some playoff wins, right? I just don't believe that's enough mojo to overcome Spanos Juju, right? Spanos family's a curse. Broncos, this is a team that makes the playoffs again, I think. Possibly they could make some noise. I'm very high on the Broncos. Raiders, I see a lot of positive things happening with the Raiders this year, but it's just not going to be enough to win in this division. And they'll just have to continue to be patient. I root for the Raiders. I really do. I want them to do well. NFC East, I'm going Taxkins. I think momentum is on their side. The Eagles, offensively, I think we've seen their best. Can Saquon Barkley put together another year like last year? Lane Johnson's getting older. There's a few more chinks in the armor there along that offensive line. Their defense is great, but I don't trust Jalen Hurts if he has to throw and get his team back into a lead. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but offensively, I think we've seen the best of them. Then I'm going with the Giants. They had a better offseason than the Cowboys. I'm excited to watch Jackson Dart play and some of those other people they brought in. And the Cowboys, may they rot and lie stinking in the earth. They need to trade Micah now before the season or by the deadline before they extend him and get some pieces back. There's got to be some bidders because they're just going to overpay him like they overpaid Dak. Micah Parsons is good. Micah Parsons is not great. You would never give him TJ Watt or Myles Garrett money. But Jerry Jones might. There you go. NFC North, Lions. This division is going to be the black and blue division, the old NFC Central. It's going to beat itself up. I think Detroit survives, but I do like the Packers. If Jordan Love can be consistent, I think they can. I think they can do well. I still like the Lions, even though they've had changes. I do like them, but then I'm going to go Jordan Love. I think the Bears by midseason could be the team no one wants to play, gearing up for a 2026 run. But we'll see how it all plays out. The Vikings, though, I'm just not a believer. I'm just not a believer in the Vikings at all, right? And it's not because of JJ. I don't feel comfortable with them. I just don't. All right, let's see what else we got. Let's see here. Michael Negretti, playoffs. Okay, Steve Ramirez. I have the Chargers winning the AFC West, and I think all the talent is there to win the AFC West. I really do. I just think something bad's going to happen. It's the Chargers, right? It's the Chargers. It's not a bad call there, Steve. Michael Negretti, LeBron is about ring culture. Boy, he took some hits for that. Dang. Tribe, Willie Bowen is the GOAT. Willie Bowen, what's up, Tribe? Got to get Willie Bowen a fullback. If I knew when Willie's birthday was, I'd get a football card of Jim Braxton and send him that fullback card for his birthday. Let's see here. What's up, Tribe? Steve Ramirez, Parsons worth a number one? Not in my eyes, but someone might. Someone might. You know, I think if I could get him to a lousy team, then I know that the picks are going to be in the top 100 there, you know, maybe a second and a third. I just don't think he's that good. I think he disappears when it counts most. He's the Eric Karros of sacks. And I've said this repeatedly recently, is that Eric Karros had 6 years of over 20 home runs with the Dodgers in the 90s, but he never hit a home run that counted. You don't remember a big home run. You remember the home run he hit when the Dodgers were losing 5-1 and he hit a solo in the 9th, right? You remember the home run when the Dodgers are winning 7-2 and he hits a solo in the 5th, right? But you don't have a memory of him making a big play. Micah Parsons, I'm just not into Micah Parsons at all. Let's see. Willie Bowen, Detroit Lions are chokers. Okay. I don't think so. I think Josh Reynolds, the former Ram, kept them out of the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and that one was tough. Manuel Vasquez, it's frustrating to see the media in the NFL treating the Cowboys like they're coming off a Super Bowl win every year. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I totally get that. Okay, Willie Bowen, February 13th. Everybody, next year, go to your old Topps collection, find a fullback, Roland Harper, Jim Braxton, maybe Jim Otis. Get yourself a fullback, somebody in there, and we'll post pics or send pics to Willie because he wants his fullback. There you go. Steve Ramirez. So Parsons becomes a decent TV analyst in a few years. Oh, yeah, he's going to be on Monday Night Football probably. He does have his podcast. Willie Bowen, Mike Gooman. You know, I never think of Gooman as fullback. I know he played fullback. I always think of him as U-back, right? I always think of a U-back, kind of like what was it Joe Gibbs did with the Chargers in terms of Joe Gibbs did with the Redskins in terms of Clint Didier and all those guys, moved them around a lot. Robert, how are we feeling about our inside linebackers this season? Hey, Robert, I don't know if we've met before. Maybe you've been here. Thank you for clicking on. Steve Ramirez says Colin Bryant. There we go. Are we feeling about our inside? I think it's an upgrade. I like Christian Roseboom. I thought the Rams got incredible clicks out of Christian Roseboom that no one thought they'd get. And I think Nate Landman is an upgrade, so I'm excited about that. I think Omar Spates now has a year under his belt, so he's going to marry some of that speed and talent that he has that the Rams saw now with some experience, and the game will slow down for him. Everyone likes Pooh Paul, so I'm kind of upbeat about it being a better room, and I like it because it reminds me of the cornerback room. I don't need a Fred Warner, right? I don't need a Fred Warner. I don't need a Sauce Gardner. I just need a group of guys that can come out there and compete, right? And so I'm feeling good about it. Willie Bowen, Cleveland Gary played fullback. I view him more as a feature back there, Willie. Okay, let's keep trucking along here. Who did we talk about last? Oh, NFC South. The Buccaneers. This is a team I think they've separated themselves from the NFC South. I think the Buccaneers are going to surprise people, and I think you're going to have a lot of people who are going to go back and say that, oh, yeah, they've always been Buccaneers fans, but you heard it here this spring. I'm reiterating it. The Buccaneers, I said, this is a team that's on the Rams schedule that does scare me. I know we're looking at Philly and we're looking at Baltimore because they're on the road, but the Buccaneers, they're going to have a great receiving core with Evans and Godwin, and then they brought in Iguabuka. They got Bucky Irving. That's a solid team. That's a really solid team. Todd Bowles has done a great job allowing them to invest in offense as a defensive guy. They're going to be a dangerous team in January. And they've passed the Falcons. Falcons don't have enough. And I just think Raheem Morris, while being a really great guy, I think he has limitations as an HC. I could be wrong. I want him to do well, but actually I want to see the Falcons go 2-15 this year. Let's see. Panthers, this is make or break for Bryce Young. They're competitive. If he continues on where he did what he did at the back half of last year, do I see it long-term? No, but we're going to find out. And then the Saints, they might as well be listening to Alice Cooper singing, "Welcome to my nightmare, welcome to my breakdown," right? Maybe Kellen Moore is blessed to get fired after one season, go be an OC somewhere, be a quarterback guru for a while, and then reset and get another shot in 3 years on some other team. But the Saints, they need to do a fire sale. Demario Davis, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, they just need to do a fire sale. I hope they don't. I want them to suffer. I don't like the Saints. I hope they're miserable. I hope they're miserable, except when they play the Falcons, right? Except when they play the Falcons. All right. I'm going to reiterate, Steve Ramirez, I was a huge Cullen Bryant fan. Let's see. Manny says hi to Willie. Willie Bowen, Rams, 12-3 Rams. 12-3, like 12-5? Is that what you say, Willie? Mike Nelson. Hey, Mike, thanks for coming on. Hey, Joe, I'm late to the party, but I made it. Rams Royal Guard. Thank you, Mike Nelson, for being here. I even went on early today, Mike, so don't feel bad. Willie Bowen, I'm good. Amigo Manny. All right, Manny Korea and them cannot wait. All right, let's keep going. You guys are still hanging with me. Let's look at the NFC West before I get to the Rams. 49ers, we've talked about them. I think their schedule is more difficult than many think, and they're old. They're old. And there's just nothing else more to say about that. They're old. Let me look at them real quick one more time here. Let's look at that schedule. 6 games against the NFC West. No give-me's in the NFC West. And then they've got to play the Bucks. That's 7 games. They got to play the Texans, who are going to compete. They got to play the Bears, who I think are going to be better, right? I'm not saying all these games are going to be losses for them, but this schedule's not a giveaway. The Falcons, as much as we want them to struggle, they're not going to be bad. And these teams are younger than the 49ers. So, So I don't think their schedule is as easy as everyone thinks, and they're old. The Seahawks, they're going to be trouble, but they're not going to be great. Advantage over Sam Darnold. Cardinals, they're going to be trouble because they play hard for Jonathan Gannon, but they're not great, okay? And Kyler Murray has his limitations. You know, maybe Kyler Murray puts together that 1 year. Even if he puts together that 1 year, right, it's going to be his only year. He's a splash player. He's not someone that's consistent enough. And then finally we get to the Rams, and I'm winding down here. I'm going to mention the Rams 80 season here in a second, but when we get to the Rams, I'm going to give you guys a chance to talk about this. Anything less, to me, than an NFC Championship game appearance will be a failure for the Rams, right? Don't we all agree on that? Anything less than an NFC Championship game will be a failure. Now, let's just say week 14, Stafford goes down. Okay, all bets are off, right? We're not worried about that. But for everything that is built, like where this team was last year, and now it's improved and we just add the pieces, anything less than an NFC Championship game will be a failure. And then I'll even put this out, because we're all human. We're all frail. You know, all of us fall short of football wisdom, genius. We're going to be susceptible to the hype that builds around the team, right? We will. You know, we got to be on our guard, but we will. And I'm going to get to the point where we might feel like even a championship game appearance is not good enough, that this team, for the year to be considered successful, maybe it's not a Super Bowl win, but it's got to be a Super Bowl appearance. Really? What stage do you think, given where the Rams are right now, looking at the NFC, what stage? Now, everyone stays healthy all across the board. Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Brock Purdy, Trent. Well, everyone stays healthy, okay? Where do you see, where would the Rams have to land for you to say, yeah, it was a successful season? You know, last year was a successful season. It was just bitter that it could have gone a little bit further. 2023 was a successful season when Vegas was saying the Rams were only going to win 4.5 games, right? I think in 2021, anything less after all the moves the Rams made, anything less than a Super Bowl win would have been a failure. So where do you put the Rams in 2025? What do you need to have happen for you to say, yeah, this was a successful season, right? It's easy to say Super Bowl win, but what do you think? What do you think? I'd love to hear you guys talk about that. Let's see. Manny Vasquez, say the Falcons do finish with the first pick. Do we get our next quarterback with it or get a boatload of number ones? What would you do? That's the conversation as things have slowed down that, again, I take shots at the KBM, but you got to give credit when they did, because when they say something right, and Colin Cowherd about a month ago brought up the argument that if Matthew Stafford plays well, if he shows no more signs of age, right? If he's still playing well and the Rams are winning, then maybe instead of trying to get the quarterback of the future and ushering him out the door in the 2026 season, maybe what you do is you give him more pieces. You give him more pieces, 2 first-round picks, get some elite players, put more elite players around him, make his job easier. I was all in on putting the 2 draft picks together and getting, whoever is the next quarterback. But I have to admit, Cowherd made me think when I saw that. So credit to him. I think the Rams are going to, no matter what, they're going to take the person they like. And if they don't like, they're not going to be forced to take somebody they don't like. So keep an eye on that. I can't say for 100% sure, because my thinking kind of changed a little bit depending on Stafford plays. If Stafford struggles, if his elbow's sore, and it's a Peyton Manning Super Bowl win this year, right? Then you do that. You make the move, right? And hopefully Stafford steps down. But if this guy comes back, throws 35 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and I'm not going to say duck walk, but we cruise to a Super Bowl. It's whatever it is. Let's just say we win the Super Bowl. Then why would we? Do you want to push him out the door too soon? It'd be interesting to see how it plays. Really interesting to see. Let's see. Willie Bowen, bankrupt the Whiners. Let's see. Tim Burns, off sport topic. A's first baseman Mick Kurtz hits his 11th homer in 42 games. Jump on the bandwagon, guys. He will likely be a Yankee, a Dodger, or be in Boston in 5 years. He is a beast. I signed Nick Kurtz to my fantasy team for about a week. He went like 0 for 15. I dumped him, and now he's all Mr. Hot. Thanks a lot, Mr. Burns. Mike Nelson, we agree about the Whiners and their schedule. I just don't see them bouncing back. Yeah, I think there's a limit. I think there's a limit there. And I think it's a reality that now that maybe some other people are talking about it. Robert, Super Bowl or bust every year until Matthew retires. Okay, there you go. Okay, I hear you, Robert. Good call. Mike Nelson, Rams are constantly disrespected. Even Vegas doesn't give them the respect they should, but I don't care because that means we can fly under the radar most of the time. That is so true. The Rams are always slighted, it seems. Stafford never, and I don't care. I don't think they care, to tell you the truth. But Stafford never gets us. Dude, the ridiculous quarterbacks they put in front of him is just, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, right? You want to make an argument for Lamar? I wouldn't trade Matthew Stafford for Lamar. I wouldn't. I'd trade Matthew Stafford, everyone young, everyone at their same stage. I trade Matthew Stafford for maybe Mahomes or Josh Allen, maybe, but I ain't trading Matthew Stafford. I don't like Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's too fragile. Matthew Stafford survived 13 years in Detroit, for goodness sakes. Comes to LA and wins a Super Bowl. That guy's nails. All right. I amaze when I see these so-called experts, which is why I always tell you guys, don't take a back seat to the so-called experts. They got Dak Prescott rated ahead of Matthew Stafford sometimes, Tua ahead of Matthew Stafford sometimes. It's like, are you kidding me? So yeah, the Rams are always disrespected. But again, I think they build an environment with their team and the kind of players they draft that's watered down their back. They just don't care. They just don't care. Manny Vasquez, if everyone stays healthy, Rams are going to the Super Bowl. That's it for you, right? Super Bowl or bust. All right. Tim Burns, I like the Rams getting Vegas disrespected. Better odds for me. Hey, do you know I had a friend? Actually, it was a student a student of mine back in the 90s. They had an aunt and uncle that were Ram fans. And they just every year put $100 on the Rams, $100 every year on the Rams. And the Rams in the 90s, of course, were terrible. They went to Vegas and they put their $100 on the Rams, and that was the greatest show on turf team in 1999. Those folks cleaned up. Imagine some of those folks that took that really cleaned up. I don't gamble, so I can't tell you. Let's see. Manny Vasquez, I think a lot of people, including the media, still see the Rams in Sosar days. Sosar days. Help me with that. Sosar days. Help me with that, Manny. My mind's drawing a blank. It's probably something really, really obvious.
Okay. It was a stone groove, my man.
Instead of breaking down an entire decade, I thought it would be kind of cool to just look at one season at a time where things just stood out. Rams 1980. There was such optimism after Super Bowl 14. The team went 11-5. After starting the season 0-2, Hayden broke a finger. Ferragamo came in and clearly became the star. He threw 30 touchdown passes that year, right? Making $50,000, right? It was the first year in Anaheim, so nearly all the games were on TV. And one of those losses in the first 2 weeks was week 1 against the Billy Sims-led Detroit Lions, and they pounded the Rams 41-20. But that had been the off season filled with all kinds of holdouts and everything. Veterans were upset about Johnny Johnson's the first-round pick out of Texas, of his contract that he got. So there was all this kind of disarray. Doug France was crying that there was racism with the Rams. There was all sorts of drama. They still won. It might have been, Ray Malavasi's best job. I know pretty great in 79, but Ray Malavasi making that team go 11-5 was either just a great testament to the talent that Don Klosterman put on that team, or just really a great job of Malavasi holding it together. So the Rams started 0-2, then they won 5 in a row. And they go to Atlanta, and they're in Fulton County Stadium. In the third, they're down, 6-3. And Ferragamo goes to Drew Hill. It's 10-6. And the Rams are up late in the fourth quarter. And George Allen is on the call as a color commentator, and Vince Scully is on the call. I was so clear on this. And George Allen kept harping, saying, no, the Rams are making a mistake by calling off the dog. And what he meant by the dog was only rushing three. And sure enough, Bartkowski went 54 yards to Alfred Jackson for the game-winning touchdown. Ferragamo got the Rams within some field goal range, but Frank Corral missed a 54-yard field goal, and the Falcons won. The Rams go 6-2 the rest of the way and finish one game behind the 12-4 Falcons. Highlights of that year, low light was losing at home to the Dolphins to David Woodley, where Shula outcoached Malavasi. Highlight was the Monday Night Football game, December 15th, when Jarrell Thomas went off for 147 yards. A 38-13 win over the Cowboys, which was kind of cool on Monday night. I remember that game was great. Week 9, Bob Brzezinski walks out for good after week 9 in a 45-31 win over the Saints at Anaheim. So everything's trending. Ferragamo throws 30 touchdown passes. Colin Bryant rushes for 807 yards. Elvis Peacock rushes for 777 yards and 7 touchdowns. He catches 25 passes for 2 more touchdowns. Elvis Peacock was not a bust. It was the injuries that took him down. That was his best year as a pro. It's really a shame because he was kind of coming into his own. What's his name? Wendell Tyler had several injuries that year and hardly played after his breakout year in 79. Jack Youngblood had 11.5 sacks, Mike Fanning 10. This was a good team. Leroy Irvin had 3 picks as a backup. Rod Perry and Pat Thomas were still there. You had Johnny Johnson. You had Nolan Cromwell. This was a good team. And they went to Dallas because they were 11-5, and they lost in Dallas 34-13. They were tied at halftime. And Dallas hammered them in the second half, and things weren't right again until John Robinson and Eric Dickerson showed up in 83. 81 was a lost season. They went 6-10. 82 was a lost season. They went 2-7 in the strike year. But I remember that 80 season. I mean, it was like, it was kind of cool seeing the 8 games in Anaheim. I didn't care about them moving out of the Coliseum. Coliseum was a dive, and the games were always blacked out. But the games in Anaheim were always sold out. And so we got to see a lot of those Rams games, if not all of them, throughout the 80s. People weren't upset in spite of what Eric Dickerson says. All right, I think we got all of our stuff in. Man, we went an hour and 15. This was supposed to be a short show today, and you guys hung out with me. You guys are awesome. Let's see here. Mike Nelson, quit listening to the pundits years ago. I have eyes and can see the truth. Stick to it, Mike. Stick to it. I mean, if you've done your homework, you know the game, stick to it. Too many people change their thoughts because one person says something. I say it in my day job, trust no one. Like, I can say it, but you better go to the Bible to make sure what I'm saying is true. So go for it, Mike. Manuel Vasquez, I don't like saying it, but same old sorry Rams got the player on the 49ers going. Yeah, I remember that. Was that Wallace that said that when they lost to them? The Rams start 4-0 that year in 95? And he just went off on the Rams. It was true. It was true. Tribe. Joe, my gut says Ferguson will be the starting tight end by week 5. I hope so. I think that would be great. Unless it's the offensive line and quarterback, I got to be honest. I never really think about starters anymore. I just don't. I think about just different, who's in, who's getting snaps. And the idea of Ferguson, Higbee being on the field at the same time, I don't know. That's kind of exciting, isn't it? And then a couple of those receivers, Adams and Nakua, and then you got a running back there. Or could you imagine the Rams run, I call it scram, but they run 5, no running back, and then you got Ferguson, Higbee, and then you're running Nakua, Adams, and Atwell? Good luck with that, right? Good luck with that. So I am excited about Ferguson. I think I'm excited about Ferguson because McVay is excited about Ferguson. Steve Ramirez, 80 Rams should have won the division but lost to the Falcons in Atlanta when they stopped the Falcons inside the 10, but Malavasi accepted a 3rd down holding call. Next play, go-ahead TD for Atlanta. Wow, Steve, you remember that pretty good. I just remember the Alfred Jackson catch, and that one set me off. And it's amazing the things we remember. Amazing. All right. Manuel Vasquez, I need help. What is SOSAR? I still see the Rams in the SOSAR days. I'm not sure what that is. Okay, guys. Thanks for hanging with me. I think this is one of the longest shows we've ever done. 1 hour and 17 minutes, and it was supposed to be a short show. What does that say about the NBA draft, right? Anyway, please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Please share with your friends. Check out my books. Check out Kistler Law as we try to build our footprint here, and of course on Spotify and iHeart. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you go. I think my wife made me a steak. Okay, guys, God bless. Take care. And we will see you on Friday. All right.